Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us for another GoDaddy Pro webinar, or if this is your first one, welcome. We're glad to have you. Today we have Justin Mealy and Ben Rubin here. They're going to tell you about their topic a little bit more when I introduce them in a few minutes. So how we're going to do this is we're going to have them give you a little bit of a presentation, and then afterward we're going to take Q&A, but you can drop any question that you have in the Q&A tab at the bottom at any point during the presentation. You can also participate in chat as much as you want. And then in a few days, we're going to send out an email with a recap and recording for you as well, so you can watch again if you want to. But before we get started, it's time for our traditional shameless plug. So please share your website with us so we can see who we've got here today. And then while you guys do that, I'm going to make a few introductions. Usually I have my co-pilot here, Mike Chorba, on screen with me. He's not going to be on screen today, but he is going to be in chat with you all. So if you see Chorba in chat, he's with us and he can share some helpful links and help you out there. He runs our GoDaddy Pro Twitter handle. That's where we share pretty much all of our virtual events. So if you want to keep up to date with different things we're doing, whether it be our webinars, other virtual events, or pretty much anything that's going on with GoDaddy Pro, go ahead and give us a follow on Twitter and you can stay up to date that way. So it looks like we've already got some people participating in the shameless plug here. I'm going to go ahead and call those out for you. We've got floridasunadventures.com from Sandy Edwards, and we've got differentangle.me. And then Chorba has also shared the link to our Twitter profile as well, so you can just click on that whenever you're ready to follow. All right, so let's get started with the introductions for our two presenters here. We have Ben Rubin. Ben, do you want to go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. So again, Ben Rubin. I work with the Partners Channel Management team here at GoDaddy. My primary focuses are our partner services, internal tooling, and some of the marketing experience when it comes to our advanced hosting products. I've been in this role for actually just coming up on about 3 months. Prior to this role, I was actually on the phones supporting our customers.
I have done that as well. Neely, you want to talk about yourself for a little bit? And then after that, I'm just going to go ahead and let you take it away.
Sounds good to me. Hey, everyone, Neely here. I work alongside Ben here on the Partners Channel Management team. My focus more so is around the partners' experience with GoDaddy and how our teams communicate with you all. While I'm not doing that, I also build and develop my own WordPress sites for my clients. I've got my own little side hustle there, and then just try to stay active in the WordPress community. Excited to talk to you all about intro to VPS at GoDaddy, really talk about why VPS for a designer, why it makes sense, talk about some of our latest offerings, and then kind of go into a little bit more in depth of the product itself. But before we get started, I want to kind of gauge the room and kind of see what we're on right now. So whether you use GoDaddy or not, what type of hosting do you use? Shared hosting, cPanel, Plesk, managed WordPress, VPS, dedicated cloud, something else? Let us know, just drop it in the chat down below. I myself use business hosting in our managed WordPress offering, depending on what I'm actually setting up for my clients. Ben, do you have any sites?
Nope. But when I did, I was on VPS almost the whole way through. My particular VPS always had a Plesk control panel, and I did that for years.
Ben is probably one of the smartest guys I know.
It doesn't speak very positively to your group of friends.
Great, cool. So let's jump in. So let's talk about what an actual VPS is, or a virtual private server. So the official definition I got from the Googles, VPS is used as a virtualization technology to provide you with dedicated resources on a server with multiple users. It's a more secure and stable solution than shared hosting, where you don't get a dedicated server space. When we communicate this out and we train our care folks, we like to use a bit of an analogy to kind of differentiate what shared hosting is versus a VPS versus a dedicated server. So we could think of a VPS like owning a condo. Yes, you'll still have neighbors around you. I'm actually living in a condo right now, so I've got neighbors to the left and right of me, but I own this physical space, meaning I can repaint the walls, I can do mostly whatever I want inside of my house, but outside, of course, it's maintained by the condo property itself. Shared hosting is like being in an apartment. So I can't really do a whole lot. It's dictated by the apartment complex, but I live here. All my stuff is here. Same with your website. Dedicated server is like owning your own house. You can do whatever you want. If you want to knock down walls, build stuff, do whatever, it is yours. That VPS though is kind of that sweet spot of having the full control that you might need for your business, your clients, your websites, without having to have too much responsibility there. Anything to add on that, Ben?
Truly don't. It is the whole real estate thing is a great analogy for how our different shared hosting and dedicated hosting products, kind of align with each other and improve upon one another.
Groovy. So a bit of agenda here. We're going to talk about why you might want a VPS as a designer and developer. Talk about VPS, our self-managed VPS versus the fully managed VPS, the different access levels and control panels available, and then VPS at GoDaddy. So why VPS is a good choice for web designers and developers? So overall, I personally believe VPS is a win-win. Starting off with dedicated resources. Now, the difference between a VPS and shared hosting and with the resources aspect is on shared hosting, you're sharing the memory, the CPU, the RAM, RAM, same thing, but all those resources with others on that same box. With the VPS, that memory, that CPU, those concurrent connections, IO, all that good stuff is all yours. With the VPS here at GoDaddy, we actually offer high performance SSDs on OpenStack for 3 times the speed plus unlimited traffic. Is really don't have to know the SSDs at OpenStack. It really just means your website gets served super fast. The memory, it can basically grow exponentially anywhere from that 1 gigabyte up to 32 gigs. The cool thing about VPS that's a little bit different from a dedicated server is that you can kind of upgrade and scale as your business might grow. So if you start off maybe on a 2 gigabyte server and you might start growing, adding more clients onto your server environment, you don't have to pick up and move houses, if you will. You can just add on to your environment and add additional resources there. Say you had a dedicated server, that might not be as easy of a process. We want to downgrade, upgrade, all that good stuff.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. We offer standard memory and high memory. So in order to fit your project and your use cases, you don't always have to take every step and increase both exponentially. We allow you to do half steps that you can bump your RAM and then jump your CPU, kind of like that, which is pretty cool.
Yep, makes that scaling process easy. Because you obviously don't want to be overpaying for something that you want to get to in a year from now. It kind of fits that sweet spot and then grows as you grows. I see lots of conversation in the chat around whether they use cPanel or Plesk, but with the VPS, you do have that control panel access with Plesk or cPanel. I believe it's ISP config as well.
Yep, a free open source solution for control panel. And the coolest thing about the Plesk offering that we have on our VPS and dedicateds is, so it's Plesk Web Host Edition. So it's significantly more advanced than what a user might find in a shared environment. It allows managing your clients and resources available for those clients to be much more streamlined and much more customizable. And also Plesk is available on our Linux VPSs as well, which is something unique to us here very recently.
Yep, exactly. And with the server offering itself, you're not necessarily setting up a VPS for a single client. While that might be the case for some of your clients, what a lot of designers and developers will end up doing is setting up a VPS for themselves and then setting up individual cPanel or Plesk accounts for their clients to set up. That way, their client gets that same cPanel or Plesk access that they're probably used to with any other type of hosting provider, but you're managing everything on the back end, like how much memory they might get, the bandwidth, the storage, and all that good stuff, and you can package that together. Or if clients don't care about having cPanel access, you still want to set them up with their own individual accounts, more so for organization and be able to access them quickly. You almost set up a hierarchy. You almost become the hosting provider and have all the individual cPanel and Plesk accounts underneath it that your clients all fit into, which makes it super nice as a designer. I know what a lot of people might do is end up setting up multiple cPanel accounts or Plesk accounts in their personal account, and they're riddled with a bunch of billing. The VPS kind of consolidates all that. You pay just the standard fixed price for your VPS, and then you charge your clients for the hosting products based on how you see fit. And it's just taking off to yours. So if you pay, I don't know, 20 or 25 bucks for your VPS, but charge your client $10 a month for hosting for a smaller portion of that VPS, it starts to become pretty profitable as you add more and more clients onto your box. Anything else here to add, Ben?
Not so much, but I think from the getting creative with self-hosting your clients and the way that you build them out. I mean, theoretically, your clients can pay off your hosting on a monthly, and then you can start to turn a little bit of profit on that as well. My clients, when I was doing it, my clients paid for my hosting, which was pretty advantageous.
Right, and that's kind of the goal with the VPS is you obviously don't want to have a hosting cost at the end of the day. You want it to have a kind of spin a profit, and that's one of the ways you can do it while still having individualized access for your clients. They still feel like they still have access to their stuff, so they have that sense of ownership. You can obviously go in and manage anything you want and keep it organized there.
100%. And then we asked at the top if anyone was using cloud hosting. I didn't see anyone in chat suggest that they were, but one of the most difficult things about managing cloud hosting is the cost aspect. You have these elastic costs that fluctuate based on traffic, based on size of site, based on content served, and things like that. So the nice thing about VPS is you have a set monthly fixed cost. You know that your monthly bill is going to be $29.99, and that is a built-in cost into running your business. So you're able to. I think it makes it easier to manage a stationary side of your billables or of your costs, I should say.
Cool. So talking about VPS and then fully managed VPS offerings at GoDaddy. Did you want to take this slide away, Ben?
Yeah. So our advanced hosting lineup kind of falls into two categories. We have our self-managed VPSs, or self-managed VPSs that include a control panel. You can go headless if you're feeling particularly gutsy and you want to try your chops and do everything through a command line because it just makes you feel good about it. Have at it. It's definitely an option, but we offer our cPanel, ISP config, and Plesk control panels to make that tremendously easier. And those are available depending on the control panel selected, available on our CentOS, Ubuntu, or Windows Server offerings. And then for more app creation, we have our Debian operating system for VPS as well. On either of the two options, so headless or with a control panel, support is general hosting telephone support. You have same access 24/7, 365 to GoDaddy's technical support, where we help to manage and monitor the uptime, the accessibility, and the performance, if you will, of the server itself, and allow you guys to manage the content and the goings-ons inside of the server. The cool thing about that is that 1 gig, 1 CPU offering that we have starts as low as $4.99 a month, which is impressive. Cheaper than I think our entry-level cPanel hosting is currently, which is pretty wild. Then we also offer a full-fledged managed 24/7, 365 experience using our own server admin. So we have a team that monitors all parameters of the performance and uptime and availability, the services, the functionality of the server itself, and have proactive intervention opportunities for any event that might occur that might impede your customers or your customers' traffic or your customers' customers and their traffic to the websites. They also offer a series of a menu of expert services, like setting up the server, configuring the server, setting up optimized HTTP protocols, increasing or installing additional or customizing PHP modules or Apache or SQL, in order to make sure that that server is fine-tuned for the kind of content you're creating and to make sure that your client sites are running at tip-top shape. And then those services are available with our control panels, so both our cPanel and Plesk control panels, and those prices are starting at $99.99 per month.
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing with this here is kind of that experience factor. VPSs are going to be more responsibility than just running a standard traditional shared hosting. You're responsible for a little bit more of the server configuration and security and things like that too. And if anything were to go wrong on the actual the software itself or inside of the configuration, it's going to be on you to kind of resolve. We have expert services to help with one-off things that if it makes sense. But if you'd rather have just a larger piece of the pie with a VPS, but don't want to manage anything on the back end, would rather have a team, it's probably going to be the most cost-effective option to run with that fully managed VPS versus hiring someone outside, because they get pretty costly to manage and configure a server. So if it makes sense, that fully managed is there. But if you have the technical know-how, or I would say the patience of a saint to kind of go in and learn how to manage a server, the standard one's going to be just fine there. Cool. So we're going to talk about the different levels of access with these servers with root, RDP, WHM, and Plesk. So root access is the advanced way to manage a Linux server. So if you don't have a control panel, or even if you do rather, you can go in through terminal or PuTTY and open up an SSH connection to your server and just hammer away with command line. If you've never seen it, it looks like that image there. It's just showing a list of the files. This way is a super advanced way to manage a server. If you know what you're doing, it becomes super efficient to do so this way. But it's not the end of the world if you don't know command line when first learning how to do a server. So if you're on a Mac, the default app is just Terminal. It's built into the computer itself. If you're on a Windows machine, you'll have to download a program called PuTTY. There is a super cool website that has a game called Bandit War Game. It's actually where I first started learning how to use SSH myself. It goes through little mini lessons. You connect to their server and you have to basically play a game to get on to next levels and next levels. So it's a fun way to learn how to SSH when SSH, I don't know, to me wasn't the most fun trying to learn alternate ways. It made it a little bit more fun for me on this end.
I was teased mercilessly as recently as yesterday for my excitement about the game.
Oh, you didn't know about the game prior to this?
Didn't know about the game. Spent an irresponsible amount of time on it last night, level 27, nearly done, nearly complete. And one Jeffrey Jewell has made sure I know where I fit in his list of top people, if you will.
That is fantastic. I think I finished it. I want to say about 2 or 3 years ago. I went through it. So if they've added any additional levels, I'll have to jump back into it. But it is super fun. It's entertaining to kind of go through, and you really want to get to that next level if you're competitive like me and complete it. Good old Jeff Jewell popping in the hearts. There's still much love for you, Ben. All right, the way to connect to your Windows server is through RDP or Remote Desktop Protocol. It allows you to connect to your server remotely. You'll notice on the right-hand side of this little screen here, it looks like a standard Windows machine. So if you've never operated a Windows server, the control panel to manage the server looks identical to Windows. Obviously, you're going to have a lot more settings and options that you're able to do, but for most traditional Windows server administrators, they'll just connect through RDP and go through this normal user interface to install different programs, EXEs, update their security firewalls, and all that good stuff directly here. If you're on a Windows machine, the program, the RDP or RDC, Remote Desktop Connection app, is pre-installed, so there's nothing extra that you need to install. Mac, you'll have to install some type of third-party program to connect. Managing as far as like learning how to use RDP is pretty easy and straightforward since most of us use a Windows computer every day. It's just the different nuances of actually managing the new areas will be a little bit more difficult to run and manage.
Yeah, it's like starting a new job. You know how to get in there, and then learning what to do once you're there. It takes a little time to get familiar with it, right?
Yep, 100%. You want to take this one on, Ben?
Cool. WHM is the higher level administrative panel that facilitates and administers cPanel instances. You'll notice a lot of the icons there on the right-hand side look very familiar to things that you might have seen inside of a cPanel already. This just takes it one notch further. This is how we at GoDaddy would set up or configure our shared hosting environments for packages or for the different configurations that we make available for our customers. So when we think about it, WHM allows us to control from the top down and create those new accounts, set up the profiles for them, manage the processes and services, keep that server up to date, keep it secure, keep it patched, setting up automations, email relay servers, things like that, all done inside of WHM.
Yeah, and I would say too, like as far as like the command line aspect of it, if you don't know command line, many of those same tasks can be managed directly within WHM. It's just if anything were to go wrong with WHM, you'll want to know command line to kind of back yourself up.
Something to fall back on, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, WHM it's pretty easy, and if you use cPanel like you were saying, it's some of the same stuff. That top left search option is where I spend most of my time, jumping from place to place and updating different things. WHM has a ton of great videos and resources on their website that kind of go through every little nuance of the control panel and what you can do if you're wanting to jump into that aspect there.
And then Plesk. Plesk, functional or purpose-wise, very similar to the purpose behind WHM. Allows you to create your client websites and create the configurations and availability and management aspects for all of them. Set up the DNS to each of the websites that are hosted. Excuse me. You will notice that it is less icon based, so it's a little bit more business forward, if you will. And I would say that is its largest learning curve. But it has a tremendous help resource in Plesk's forums and their website as well, which is where I have learned nearly everything I know about it. It allows you to set up virtualization containers as well for anyone who likes to dabble with app development or might do more front-end app programming, anything like in React or anything like that. It has that as a default feature. Whereas with cPanel or WHM, those are extensions or extensibility that's available. Plesk has that in mind right out of the gates.
And then two questions in chat I think are relevant to, or in the asking questions section that are relevant to what we've been talking about. The first one by Andy is, what do folks typically use Windows VPS for?
So when we're talking Windows VPS, it's traditionally going to be customers who require something that's proprietary to a Microsoft language. They may have built their website in an ASP Classic or ASP.NET. They may use a CMS like .NET Nuke. They might require the feature set that's available through Microsoft SQL Server, which doesn't have as robust of Linux equivalents. So it's traditionally why folks will go there. Some like the customizability of what can be done with IIS, which is Microsoft's web server that runs in Windows VPSs. But traditionally, like on a core level, they go Windows because they need a Microsoft proprietary language. And then I see Torba's question up above about server port settings. Almost entirely, yes. There are very, very, very minute circumstances where we have a port control on a DC level, but those are done purely for a security perspective. I think this question is usually fueled when we hear the question from our customers, fueled about, hey, can I do Can I do Google Play connectivity? Can I do push messaging through Android or Apple communications? The answer is absolutely yes. You have full access and customizability to your own firewall in your VM, and only a small handful of ports are restricted.
Well said. All right, VPS 4, let's talk about what's new. I'll have you take that one away, Ben.
Cool.
You're our advanced hosting expert.
Sure. I mean, VPS 4, this particular slide does a good job of highlighting what makes VPS 4 very unique versus our previous offerings. We've never had this engagement before, though, right? I've never been up here in front of you explaining our third generation or anything prior. What this does, though, is it shows how we compare to other VPS offerings. The vast majority of this list here sets us apart from other hosting providers and things that make us unique and put us ahead of the curve with a lot of this. So our global data centers, right? So we operate data centers for our VPS product in Europe, in the US, and in Southeast Asia. OpenStack with KVM is an industry leader for VPS and containerized server management. SSDs allows for faster data read writes, as much as we saw earlier, as much as 3 times faster than what we would see with traditional spinning disk hard drives. Our virtual CPUs, anywhere from 1 up to 8 cores. Then on with our RAM, we talked about those tiered steps, anywhere from 1 gig up to 32 gigs. You have those more robust WordPress sites that are running, a lot of heavy customization in the plugins, have a pretty weighty theme. You get, a couple few hundred visitors on there, and we're talking, dozens of megs of RAM to each of those customers. We want to make sure that we have that headroom to keep everything up and running well, and that's why it's nice that we have the expandability in that RAM section. Anywhere from 200 to 400 gigabytes of SSD storage. And we talk about our management levels, right? So we have our do-it-yourself management with or without a control panel, and then we have our fully managed server offerings, which is that 24/7, 365 expert service from our own employees internally that are always there every day when you need them. And then beyond that, just the variety of our control panels and the variety of our operating systems that are available are pretty tremendous.
Now, someone asked before with upgrading CentOS 6 to CentOS 7, VPS 4 has what CentOS version?
It's going to have CentOS 7 with or without cPanel. With cPanel, cPanel kind of controls what OS is available to you. It's a little bit less on us, right? So cPanel gets to determine what they're compatible with. But if you go headless, if you go control panel-less, and you wanted to upgrade to CentOS 8 at some point, I believe that's well within your ability. Same thing's true of our Windows servers. Currently, we're rocking Windows Server 2016, 2019, right around the corner.
Groovy. Just want to get that clarification. All right. So,
you know what? I'm glad you bring that up, because it does give us an opportunity, or it does give you an opportunity. You get to, as the owner of the VPS, you decide what software is installed, right? So in a shared environment, be it managed WordPress, be it Plesk shared, be it cPanel shared, even business hosting, we have to. Your hosting provider, they manage the global fleet, and they do it lockstep. Every single one of them configured, every neighbor configured the same. But with a VPS or a dedicated, you get to rock the latest and greatest, or if you need to keep something a little more legacy, because you're supporting some older code or a client who has some particularly unique use case, you're not forced to upgrade. That's up to you. Or you can stay on the bleeding edge and get yourself up into those beta opportunities, or keep yourself at the front of the market when it comes to SQL Server versions or MySQL versions, things like that.
Awesome. And then another question in the chat here: Are you able to choose the region where your VPS will reside, or is that done automatically?
That is up to you. So you can choose during provisioning any one of the 3 data centers. In the event that, you move overseas and you realize that you should be someplace else, you can re-provision in that other data center. It does require a backup and restore of your own content. There's no moving it from one DC to another. but you're not locked in for the perpetuity or for perpetuity. You can move between.
Great. And I think that's all the content related to just a bit of an introduction to VPS, if you will, at GoDaddy, and then why it's right for a designer versus setting up lots of shared hosting accounts or even having your clients set up their own hosting altogether. We'll open it up for any other questions. If there are any, go ahead and post it in the Ask a Question field. But if not, we can wrap a little bit early and give everyone their time back.
I actually have a quick question for you guys that I was thinking of as you were talking. We had WooCommerce with us for the past 3 weeks talking about e-commerce. Is there a specific VPS plan that you recommend for e-commerce sites? And why?
Okay, so it's a little bit subjective, which is why I hesitate.
Okay.
When it comes to WooCommerce, my recommendation is that you pick your tier based on the number of products that are going to be available. We seem to find that it has the most number of pages that load in a category. The breadth of the product assortment kind of increases the girth of the site, which really ends up causing the most overhead. So to answer the question, yes, I would definitely have a control panel. I definitely wouldn't go headless because we want to make it easier to manage the configuration to optimize performance. And I would say, start with a 2 CPU would be a nice place to start. If it's a single site, if we're talking about that is your primary client base, we've got 10 clients on lock that are all running e-commerce, WooCommerce sites. I'm going to recommend something closer into that 8 CPU tier, especially because that 8 CPU tier is going to come with more significant storage space. So we want to make sure that we have room to grow.
So if someone was a little bit unsure as to which plan that their site or multiple sites might need, is that something that you think they would probably call into support for a little bit of advice?
Absolutely. In those scenarios, especially if they're existing customer of ours, we have visibility into their existing servers. So we can take a look into some of their recent history, last 7 days, last 14 days, say, you've been maxing out on X, Y, or Z. So we know that needs to be a focus when we start to choose our VPS offering. So we can do a little bit more educated consulting when we have some historical information in front of us.
Right, and that's kind of the power of the VPS too, right? Like you can go with a lower end plan to see if it works for you, but if you find yourself outgrowing it, it's a couple of clicks of a button to get to that next tier up, or whatever resource you might need to kind of grow as you see fit.
That makes sense. I do want to call a couple things out here, unless I think we might have another question. Oh, Chorba wants to know, are you able to get upgrade and downgrade from the fully managed as needed?
No. So part of your fully managed experience is a heavy customization and optimization of the server. And the reason there is no downgrade process is there's no revoking those customizations. There's monitoring and functionality that's built in uniquely to the FMS experience.
Gotcha.
Although upgrade, I should take it back. No downgrade, yes, upgrade.
All right. I want to call a couple things out for everyone here. We do have a Get Started with VPS button down here at the bottom of your screen. If you're liking what you're seeing and you want to try it out, that will take you to the page where you can view the different plans. Like they said, you can start small and you can upgrade if you find that you need more. I also want to let you know that there is a poll at the bottom just to let us know how we're doing. If you feel that you were satisfied or unsatisfied with this webinar, give us a rating 1 to 5 and let us know about it so we can make some changes and make this program better for you. Anybody have any additional questions? Just opening it up here. You're welcome to just type it right in chat. You don't have to put it in the Ask a Question section. Also, I want to call out the fact that these two are going to be joining us next week as well, where we're going to be going over cPanel WHM. And then the week after that, we're going to be talking about Plesk Obsidian. So I saw some conversation going on in chat about cPanel versus Plesk and the benefits of each. And we're going to be touching on those in the next 2 weeks. So if you're interested in those, keep an eye out for the follow-up email where we're going to provide a link to RSVP. You can also look for us on crowdcast.io/GoDaddy. You'll be able to see all of the webinars we have coming up, not just those two. But please RSVP to those if you're interested in hearing more, because these guys are coming back. Matthew Richards says, can Mr. Neely tell us about his camera setup? It is stunning. I agree. I want to know.
Yeah, I have my Canon camera set up here in front of me. Outside, like not this perspective, like it's a mess. So I'm glad it makes me look good. But I have that, and then I bought on Amazon a $50 video capture card, and it makes it perfect.
Yeah, I've asked Neely's advice on camera and lighting setup a few weeks ago as well. Clayton says, I have WHM CentOS 6 with 50 plus sites on it. How do I update it without messing up my sites? Managed VPS, it's not fully managed. I'm not sure if that might end up being a question for Care, but would you guys like to address that to any degree?
Sure. That is certainly going to be a best question, because we want to be able to consult to the right resource levels in order to get yourself CentOS 7 and then have the opportunity to upgrade in the future. That would be a migration to the 4th generation VPSs that we've been discussing throughout. cPanel and CentOS have not offered support to the hardware that supports VPS 3. That said, you have WHM. So WHM has the transfer tool for easy transfer of cPanel accounts between WHM hosted servers. So the process of moving content from A to B is significantly easier than it would be if you had to pack everything up, haul it across the street, and move it into the new apartment. Nope, they're condos. Move it into the new condo. So Clayton, I would highly recommend calling to Care. It's a conversation that we are well-versed in and happy to help through.
That's awesome. You're welcome, Clayton.
I told you, smartest guy.
That was a really good question.
Never felt as short as I do right now. All right.
I can't control which side you end up on. You being in the middle is just a happy coincidence. All right, everyone. Well, I think that's going to be it for us today. Please join us next week to talk about cPanel WHM. Go ahead, get started with the VPS if you're interested in what we just talked about, and follow us on Twitter. Have a good one.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.